Public debates in the wake of the Prime Minister's address to the nation has been heating up the airwaves and just about every public gathering spot. The Lucian People's Movement, the LPM, weighing in on the matter, has said it is disgusted with the address issued by Dr. Kenny Anthony in response to the US's decision to ban St. Lucia police from participating in security-related training that it funds. According to the LPM leader, Thera Prudent, Dr. Anthony refuses to take responsibility for his own government's unacceptable response to the extrajudicial killings committed by an ad hoc group of officers within the police force. Prudent added that governance is about taking full responsibility and correcting the preserved mistakes and awful practices of previous administrations. So, is the situation a police problem or a national crisis with its genesis from the corridors of the political directorate? In a series of in-depth interviews, we will attempt to find out. We begin with the Royal St. Lucia Police Force, with the suspension of the force from participating in any activities financed by the U.S. What is the direction now with respect to training and technical support? Harris Commissioner of Police, Vernon Francois.
We have a lot of trained police officers, and if we have to go through the way of doing, follow officers who have been trained, and so we can do our training in that area. In terms of, there are other agencies that we are working with in terms of training, because we have other international partners that we work along with. So I'm not too worried about the area of training and even being able to move forward with the police department. The only thing, like I said, we cherish the relationship with the U.S. government, and it's important to us for us to do whatever it takes to, repair whatever damage has been done to our relationship.
But we have now also been barred from being involved in the RSS, is that correct?
No, that is not the case. It has, well, it's been a while really. No, that's not anything new in terms of RSS courses which are funded by the U.S. government. So it's not really bad from the RSS, because we are still significant members of the regional security system, but in terms of courses that are funded by the U.S. government, that is the understanding that I have.
I think people are pains to understand how we could have hosted the trade winds and then a mere few months later to be completely suspended by the US from anything that has their stamp on it. Can you explain to us how we can have such a drastic shift in position?
Well, that is a very interesting question. I don't have the answer, unfortunately. But when we did the trade winds, I think it was a very good arrangement. I think both sides were very happy for the partnership. We had a large number of American officials there, including the ambassador. Even subsequent to trade winds, and during the course of June, the U.S. government paid completely for my travels to Russia. We attended a conference in Russia. And in July, I was invited to the celebrations as it relates to the independence anniversary of the United States. They had an activity in Barbados. So it's all happened rather quickly, and I don't have the explanation. What I know for a fact is that they've been expressing concerns as it relates to the vetting of police officers who are attending courses put on by the United States government. And it's not only applicable to, it was not only applicable to St. Lucia. The arrangement we had in place was for St. Lucia, it was a 3 months vetting period, but for the other islands was 2 months. But it has really moved on, and as to what the real reason, I really cannot explain.
We heard the Prime Minister speak about the inquest, and we heard you say before that the 2011 shootings, that they were being subjected to inquest. It would seem, as the Prime Minister noted, that the process is not being trusted by the United States. What can you tell us about that process, and whether there is any shadow of doubt that we followed the process as it is stated in our own legislation?
Well, I have absolutely no doubt that we followed the process as stated in our legislation. It is clear that both the Constitution of St. Lucia and the Criminal Code of St. Lucia speaks to circumstances where people can suffer a loss of life, unfortunately, and the steps that are to be followed in the event that there is a loss of life. There is also the Coroner's Act of 2005, where it also prescribed what should happen during in such cases, and also the Police Act of St. Lucia in terms of the investigation in such matters. Under our current arrangement, the investigation is actually done by the police department. And we went through the investigation. The files were submitted to the Director of Public Prosecution without any recommendation. She will conduct her own review of the files. She will make, in some cases in the past, not in any of the 2011 cases, but in the past, she has directed that the charges be laid against the police officers involved. But in the 2011 cases, she directed that we go through an inquest, and the files were submitted. And I think in terms of the history of inquests in this country, the inquest into the 2011 matters happened rather quickly, because we have only one matter outstanding now in Viewport, and it is outstanding at the moment. It's close to completion, but it is outstanding at the moment because we're waiting to deal with the ballistics aspect of the case.
Commissioner Francois revealed that part of the investigative process in the aftermath of the police killings was the administering of polygraph tests to all officers involved in Operation Restore Confidence. The officers were asked pointedly whether they were part of a plan to execute criminals or gave directions to subordinates to engage in extrajudicial killings.
We've done that just to clear anything that might have come out of the 2011 period. Even for myself, I did polygraph also, and one of the questions that was asked by the polygrapher was actually hired by the US government, was whether I myself directed anybody to engage in extrajudicial killing, and I cleared my polygraph. So this is to show the efforts that we've gone into following the rule of law to deal with the situation of 2011. But what is facing us, again, it is US legislation, the Lee Act, so we have to obviously respect the law too. Their law is setting a lower standard. It is setting a standard based on credible information. And if you look at it, credible information is information that there's not even a need for it to be tested in the court of law. It can be even from a press report or from an NGO. It can be an information provided by somebody that they believe to be credible. So there's no need for it to be tested in the court of law. But I think the standard, which is the one followed by us in St. Lucia, it is really in keeping with what really is the rule of law. The fact that if you have evidence against somebody who have committed an act, you put it through the judicial process, and the judicial process makes a determination as to whether the person is innocent or guilty. But if somebody can go to another agency without the person that you're accusing know anything about it, then I do not know that this is the rule of law, because you are not giving the person that you're accusing an opportunity to defend himself or herself.
Are you saying that the suspicion or the conclusion is that the U.S. has gotten this source of information that it has deemed credible, and so it has dismissed everything else that we have done as far as our legislation is concerned? Someone here spoke to the U.S. complaining about the so-called extrajudicial killings. That's your conclusion?
Well, it will appear that notwithstanding what, and I'm not saying that they do not respect our laws, but notwithstanding the steps that we've taken under our laws, they seem to be still, my view seems to be there still seem to be some people out here out in St. Lucia who did not take part in the formal judicial process, but who would have given information to them that they consider credible, and they accept that information. What I would love to see is that information is shared with me, or shared with the DPP, or shared with somebody who will be able to do something about it. Because at the moment, I'm getting the sense that the Royal St. Lucia Police Force, the officers for that matter, are being accused of something they do not know about, because whatever they would have done, it would have been, I guess, come out in the open during the course of the inquest. But the system that we have where people can go and give information, give credible information, and I do not know about what I know about is what was laid out during the course of the inquest, and then the coroner made a determination in the number of the cases that it was death by lawful act on the part of the police.